So self-care I think is the opposite of selfishness. Selfishness is ignoring the things that will benefit you and focusing just on what's comfortable. What's comfortable really isn't what's going to be the best for most people. We grow when we're outside of our comfort zone.
Tulsa Talks is the podcast that is inspiring people to have everyday meaningful conversations to gain perspective and help the world.
Welcome to Tulsa Talks. Kurt Bennett is here today to talk about setting realistic expectations and living a life with purpose and goals and living better than we did yesterday, differently than we can today, so that we can live better tomorrow and every moment. Welcome, Kurt.
Thank you. It's great to be back. Thank you.
So, expectations. How important is it to set realistic expectations?
It's one of the most important skills we could cultivate is what should I expect? And what can I expect to do if things don't go my way or don't go the way I think they should? Our expectations drive our emotional response. And when our expectations are violated or aren't met, we're going to feel a high degree of negative emotion, anger, frustration, even sadness or depression. And the key thing on that is our expectations.
What does a realistic expectation look like in your life? Just an example of how you had an unrealistic expectation and now you've changed gears to make that realistic.
Sure. I always think about my family and my son when I use examples like these because kids are fun, but they're chaotic and you never know what's going to happen, what to expect. And so I used to have this expectation that, when I get home from work, I really just need 5, 10, 15 minutes of just peace, leave me alone. I need to kind of adjust myself before I can really engage and be that interactive father, especially when my son was younger, like 3 or 4. And then every single time I came home, it would never go the way I think it would. I would say, son, I just need a few minutes. Can you give me some peace? And then I realized this is happening every single day I work. This is probably not the best expectation I can have. And when I let go of that expectation and realized as soon as I'm home, I'm still dad. I'm dad at work. I'm dad at home. And if I need time to kind of decompress, maybe I should look for it elsewhere. But when I get home, I'm dad to my son. And the goodness I found in that was my son loves me so much that he wants my attention as soon as I get home. And if I deny that to him, what is that? How is he interpreting that? So I need to change my expectation and think as soon as I'm through that door, I'm dad. And what I found was I wasn't any more angry. I was less angry. I was happier because as soon as my son was there, I'm smiling, he's smiling. We're playing, we're playing with toys. We're running around the house, playing tag, hide and seek. And I found myself being a lot more happy.
How'd you get that time of decompression?
Well, I think a lot of people do the same thing. In fact, this is where I got the idea online. I would sit in my car in the driveway for a few minutes and just take some deep breaths and realize, this is family time when I'm walking through that door. And that changed everything. So
the light switch from going in and being overwhelmed to being engaged, anticipating and desiring this interaction changed by you realizing that you needed self-time and you took that self-time before you put yourself into that environment.
Yeah, exactly. And changed what success looked like. Like, what do I want? Well, I want to be able to relax. Is that really what I want? Or am I chasing something I can't get? Because I could say 5 minutes when I get home or an hour. It'd never be enough time for me to decompress and relax. But when I changed the way I thought what I needed, I don't need that. I just need a few seconds to calm myself and prepare to be a good dad and walk through the door. That's all I needed. And it changed everything.
Has this revelation, this light switch that went off for you, changed your interactions with others as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Every relationship, whether from acquaintance to loved one to family, it changed everything because I started asking myself, what else am I doing wrong? What expectations am I having that aren't really realistic or aren't really helpful? Whether it's coworkers at work or my wife at home or my kid, it kind of changes everything when you realize I need to lean into things. I need to stop wanting what I think I need and realize their wants. What I need is much more simple. And that's the mindset of things can be chaotic and are going to be chaotic. And the less I chase what I think I want and chase what things that are meaningful, those meaningful relationships, smiling at a coworker, lingering in their doorway an extra 30 seconds to hear how their day was. That changed how I felt about everything else because those relationships are meaningful. That kind of, I just need 5 minutes, that's meaningless. I mean, sometimes we obviously do need kind of that little break, and how we go about it's important too, but more often than not, those relationships, those meaningful conversations and meaningful interactions, that fuels you because you feel good when you have those.
So a light switch turned and you engaged with your son, engaged with yourself, opened yourself to him, opened yourself to yourself, and opened yourself to others. And is this selfish? Is it selfish to gain a better life?
I think no, not at all. It's not selfish because we can't serve others if we're not serving ourselves first. It's the mask from the airplane, right? Put your mask on first before helping somebody else. You're not in a position to make a meaningful difference most of the time when you're not able to fully embrace and control yourself and be there for yourself. So self-care is the opposite of selfishness. Selfishness is ignoring the things that will benefit you and focusing just on what's comfortable. What's comfortable really isn't what's going to be the best for most people. We grow when we're outside of our comfort zone. And so if we're seeking comfort constantly, that's selfish. But if we're seeking the things we need to be a benefit to others, and if we're taking care of ourselves, just that simple fact, we are already a benefit to others. That's not selfish. That's one of the most meaningful, selfless things you could probably focus on.
Yeah, I agree completely. If we can't be whole inside ourselves, how do we expect to have whole relationships?
Yeah.
And part of your life experience was take a minute for Kurt.
Yeah.
And be prepared and have expectations. You said something about gearing your son to know that his life might not go the way that he wants it to go, and be ready for that. Last time you were in the studio, we talked about bullying and helping people understand what bullying actually is. And you said pre-recording today something about helping your son know that bullying might be part of that day or might be part of sometime in the future of his life. Mm. How do you help prepare him for that expectation?
Sure. So a lot of that those expectations start, of course, right at home with his day-to-day interactions. And in fact, one of the best ways to help get that message across is being meaningful when you're saying no to things to your kid and helping them work through that kind of that frustration. Because frustration happens when we don't meet our goals, when we have a goal and we don't get it, whether it's a person blocking us, a situation that blocks us. Working through that is really important because when we learn that things are not going to go our way most of the time, and what our way is can absolutely change. Our expectations of how things should be can change and are often chaotic, and moment to moment things might change. Getting them used to the idea that, hey, you're going to have to pivot. Letting go of the thing you want right in that moment is one of the most important skills you can have. So how I help my son through that is when I'm telling him no about something, I do my best to not launch into an explanation or a lecture or anything. I try to redirect him in a way that, well, what else can we do, right? You want to go on YouTube right now, and you want me to, and he knows like you can't go on YouTube without an adult. So if I'm not there with you, and sometimes I can't always be there with you, we have to figure something else out. So it might be, I want to listen to this really cool song, and YouTube is the way I want to get to it. Well, son, I'm busy right now in the office. We can't watch that. But hey, how about Spotify? I can play that on my phone right now, and you can have that song. Would that work? So helping them find other ways to achieve that goal, to pivot in the moment. Because in that moment, it was, my only way to succeed is I have to be on YouTube. That means Dad has to get up out of the office. He has to go to the living room. We have to turn on the TV. We have to go through the Roku and do all that. And he has to be there the whole time. That's what success in that moment meant to him. So when I'm saying, no, we're not going to do that, but here's an alternative, I'm also introducing that success looks different. It can be achieved in various different ways. So how does that really apply to bullying? Well, when someone's rude to you, what does success look like in that moment? Does success look like they have to be nice now, you have to win them over, or you have to get one over on them? No, success means letting them have what they have. If they're being rude, being mean, even trying to upset or bully you, success looks like getting away from that and finding something else to occupy your time and your thoughts. At home, it's one of the greatest ways we can help teach our kids to be resilient, is exploring other options, changing what success looks like, and also giving them control over their own actions and feelings.
One of the biggest things that I see or hear men talk about is road rage. Somebody cuts them off. Somebody's going too slow. Somebody's not functioning the way that they think that that person should function in that other vehicle. Maybe they're swerving. Maybe they're on their phone. Could this apply to that?
100%. In fact, I love that analogy because road rage and defensive driving is the answer to how we drive safely in road rage.
Yeah. Giving ourselves options, another way out.
Exactly. If I'm in a situation that's tempting some road rage, my thought process might not be very in depth, right? I'm losing my cool. I'm emotionally dysregulated. So right in that moment, for most of us, it's how do I get one over on that car who was trying to get one over on me, whatever that means. As opposed
pull around them, slam the brakes on, right?
Right, I'll show them. That's what success looks like today. That's how I win in this situation, as opposed to applying defensive driving principles. I don't control that person. In fact, the best thing I can do is give that person space and get away from that person, because nothing good will come of trying to outdo that person on the road. In fact, there's so many things that could go wrong. And so it's kind of in that moment, taking a breather and realizing, okay, what does success look like right now? Does success look like I risk getting in a car accident, risk the life of me or people around me, just so I can feel good about this person who maybe meant to cut me off or maybe didn't mean to cut me off?
Maybe you get shot.
Maybe I get shot. It's happened. Or does success look like I get to work on time safely? I think that's way more successful. In order to do that, that involves nothing to do with the other person. It means I'm going to get out of their way, let them chase that ticket from the cop who's probably around the corner, or let them get in an accident with someone else, God forbid, though. But it means I'm achieving what I need to do that makes the most sense, which is get to work or get to my kid's school on time. That's success, not winning it over on them.
Yeah. I have a thing that happened in my life where somebody showed me grace. In my fault, I was merging. I almost hit him with my trailer, didn't even realize that I'd done it. I don't know exactly why I did what I did, but I know that a lot of people do the same thing, intentionally, unintentionally, whatever. And this was about 14 years ago. And the fellow was nice enough to me, and it changed my life as far as road rage is concerned. He was nice enough to follow me. He happened to be getting off of the same exit as I was, and he pulled up beside me and he said, "Sir, I don't know if you know or not, but you cut me off and just wanted to let you know that it did happen, and I'm not angry, just thought you might be needing to be a little more aware, and may God bless you." 14 years ago, and that man had what you're talking about. He avoided the accident. He was peaceful and patient and came up to me. And thankfully, I was in the place that I was in to be able to receive that as well, because it could have went the other way. People can respond differently than you expect. And they could, if I were that guy at that time, I could have just blew up and said, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But fortunately, we were both at that place where I could receive his grace and in turn share that with others of, hey, I know that you made a mistake. I've done that in the past. And maybe you could pay a little more attention. Maybe God can keep you safe if you don't. Unfortunately, things do get distracting on the road. Don't know what that other driver's going through.
Exactly. And that's something I love that. What a wonderful experience and a good learning opportunity for all parties involved. It takes courage to do what that man did, right? Because when he might have, he had the right intention of something went wrong. This guy might not have realized that he did something wrong. It could potentially kill someone in a worst case scenario. I'm going to do my duty to this fellow human being and say, hey, you made a mistake and here's what happened. God bless, man. That takes courage to do. And a lot of times we might think nice just means giving people what they want or doing the easy thing. Doing the right thing is difficult. It takes strength to be kind. And what a great kindness he did to you, because it clearly 14 years later, it changed so much for you based on what could have been a road rage incident. But to me, that's incredible. That's what it's all about right there.
Yeah. Yeah. That light bulb going off in me gave me the opportunity to give grace to a lot more people. And just like your light bulb of, hey, I'm going to take time for Kurt first so that I'm in the right place, so that I can interact with my son, and then it multiplied into the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That one man doing that one thing for me helped me change perspective and allow grace to flow through my life better. Now, do I get caught up in a moment occasionally? Unfortunately, sometimes yes, still, but a lot less regularly than I did before that encounter.
Yeah.
Setting expectations. I want to share something with you. Post-COVID, the stores were open, but there was still a lack of employees at a lot of places. And my expectation one night at 8 o'clock was to go into Krispy Kreme donut right here at 71st and 169. I go to the door to enter the door. Everything's open. Masks have fallen away, all of this. They didn't have enough employees to serve me inside. I was forced to go through the drive-thru. I wanted atmosphere as much as I wanted a donut. I wanted to sit down, have a cup of coffee, spend time with my wife, maybe put one of those goofy hats on my head or whatever, and take some pictures and, just have fun, silly kid fun. And that was 5 years ago. I was 50 years old, roughly, still doing that fun stuff. Silly, why not? Why not lighten the load? Why not lighten the mood? Doors were locked, forced me to go through the drive-thru. That expectation not being met is a part of why Tulsa Talks exists. How could that be?
Depends on how you handle that, right? Did you have fun? End up having fun?
Well, how did it affect my life? Sure, I had fun. Yeah, we went around and got some donuts and went home. Different experience than what I expected. But that not met experience, before COVID, I had almost an expectation, and it wasn't disappointed, of people being where they should be, doing what they should be doing, and almost took it for granted.
Yeah.
COVID transformed my level of appreciation for everybody, including the homeless person, the drug addict, the higher level executives, the elected officials. Changed my whole dynamic of the way that I see life moving and valuing everybody more than I ever thought possible, because I know that they have their lane. God has created them and allowed them to still have breath. That guy that's homeless continues to live. I've known a lot of people that have discontinued their life in a lot better situation than what they're in, seemingly thought on the outside. But why is God still giving them breath? Why are they still part of my environment? How can I engage with those people? How can I help them? How can they help me? How can we have this life process flow? came to a lot better reality to me because I couldn't get a freaking donut at 8 o'clock one night.
That's incredible. We're all so interconnected. And I like what you said too about, almost taking things for granted. If things are a certain way for so long, it gets really comfortable expecting this to go this way without even realizing it. And then you realize, how many people does it take to get that donut to your hand?
Inside their place.
It's got
to be inside their place.
With the hats, with the ambiance, with the atmosphere. And you realize it takes a heck of a lot of moving parts and people. And when you kind of have that self-reflection moment of, this didn't go the way I wanted to, but why? Because there weren't enough people. My goodness, I never thought I'd be thinking that, especially, pre-COVID, is how could there not be enough people? It's been playing the same situation, maybe not quite the fun factor. I was trying to get some lunch one day at Panda Express. They were closed because they didn't have enough staff. And I thought, oh my goodness, I took this so much for granted that I knew in my mind, I can go to any Panda, I can go to any fast food place, any place I wanted, and someone will be there. It'll be fully staffed. And you realize no, it takes so many moving parts and so many people to get me what I want in that moment.
Yeah.
And I need to be more appreciative of that, especially when I don't get it, because I have a choice to make. I could get mad and demand and think, well, that's not fair, but what is? Or I can think, man, I really hope whoever's missing in this puzzle piece, I really hope they're okay. I hope whatever circumstances are happening to cause this are okay, because if more people might want this too, and I want other people to get what they want and feel good, but also I want success. I want things to be interconnected in a way where people are appreciative. And I saw someone drive away really upset that day too, slamming their hands, peeling off out of there. I'm like,
look like a 3-year-old having a temper tantrum.
Yeah, how dare they?
I've been it. I've been it.
Oh yeah, it's been plenty of times. Absolutely, me too. And then when you see someone else do it, you're like, is that what I look like? Is that what I look like? I gotta change my attitude.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while, but some people that were generation before me,
mm-hmm.
I would work on construction jobs with them, or maybe I'm not much of a mechanic, but I would be in their shop and they would be working, and good Christian religious people, spiritual, awake, wouldn't get their way when something happened on a job site or in their mechanic, and that's when things changed.
Mm-hmm.
Their personal expectations, or their expectations of what they thought should happen, didn't. And these guys that were 70 years old, 50 to 70 years old, I was younger, would start throwing stuff and having curse words come out of their mouth and jumping up and down. And I was amazed, because their expectations were for things to go smoothly when they never went smoothly. And if their expectations would have been changed to know that things happen, expecting things to happen, and having a fun time of overcoming that, maybe that wouldn't have happened. But it sure as heck looked like they were having fun while they were all kinds of angry.
And that goes back to that aggression piece we talked about last time. Is aggression is rewarding for us. We feel better. And that's a response sometimes, that we feel like, I feel good when I'm getting aggressive. I didn't get what I want, so my goodness, I'm going to get loud, angry. I'm going to make myself feel better, then exit the scene here. And it's just one of those things where, what's success look like to you? Does success mean you walk away feeling good, or does it mean you get what you were after? Food or something to go right? What's the project all about?
Maybe that was part of their set expectations, is they wanted to be able to get upset.
It was always an option.
Let her fly. I want to get all of this built up tension and aggression out of me, so I'm going to work in the shop and have something go wrong.
Have you ever done that? Like, ain't that the truth sometimes, though? I'll be completely honest. There are times where I knew I was upset about thing A that happened at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was looking for a reason to get angry. And then I put myself in a situation that I knew it was not going to go right, just so I can get angry and help myself feel better. That's the most inefficient way to make yourself feel better is sometimes we don't realize we're doing it even. We put ourselves in a situation that's geared to not get what we want. We know it's not going to go well, but there's something comforting about getting upset, getting angry, acting aggressively because we control that. I can't control what happens here, but my goodness, I can get angry and I can make a show of this and I know exactly what I'll feel. I'll feel a degree of like comfort. Exactly.
How about this? How about people that have road rage? They'll always be able to find somebody not driving the way that they want them to drive. So maybe I have something going not the way I want it in my life, and I go out and I look for somebody that's not driving the way that I think they should be driving so that I can throw a fit to get that aggression out on someone else instead of facing the reality that I'm dealing with.
Or take it out of my loved ones at home. Maybe it's, I'm willing to bet. I don't know the statistics on that by any stretch, but I mean, I wonder how common that is. I know enough that I don't want to take my anger out on my family. But I do know enough that I need to get angry about something. And so I inadvertently or subconsciously get angry, find something to get angry about over here, take my rage out on them. So by the time I'm home, I'm like, I don't feel like I need to yell at anyone right now. Hi, honey. Hi, son. I wonder how common that is and how, I think how miserable that would be because you're just spreading anger and vitriol and aggression when it might be easier to say, man, what's making me so angry to start with? What happened throughout my day that I can actually tackle head on in a constructive way to resolve all that frustration and anger so I don't need to go off on someone on the road who's just trying to get to work or get home from work.
Who wants to self-reflect?
No one wants.
Who wants to admit that they are the cause of their problem?
No one naturally. It's just not programmed in our brains. The first thing we look at is who's responsible. Who's responsible for this? Where's the manager so I can speak with them about this? It has nothing to do with my behavior. It has nothing to do with my expectations. This has to be someone else's problem. And that's something we work as parents and our teachers or educators to help our kids work through when they're in elementary school. Yet sometimes we forget that we need to apply that to ourselves. A good example of that really was my son. He came home from, I think it was kindergarten, and he had a bad day. And I was in the car. I go, hey, what's up, man? How's your day? He goes, it was awful. I'm like, oh no, what happened? He goes, someone pushed me on the playground. And then Daddy Bear comes out. Oh no, was he bullied? Okay. So I had to
I'm going to go talk to that guy's parents.
Right. I'm going to go launch an investigation myself. But I calm myself down. I ask, well, tell me about what happened, dude. He goes, well, I was on the playground. I was waiting my turn to go down the slide. And then this kid, he pushed me out of the way and he went down the slide himself. And I'm like, well, are you okay? Or did he hurt you? Like, no. He didn't wait his turn. And I thought, okay, well, one, they're kindergartners. And I know, I'm not going to say the name of the kid, obviously, but I know exactly which kid he was talking about. That was a big kid. That was a kid who looked like he was in second grade. And I asked him some questions. I did some reframing, and it worked like a charm. I said, why do you think he would do that? He goes, I don't know. He's mean. I'm like, do you think he really wanted to go down that slide like you did? Have you ever wanted something so bad you kind of forgot how to be nice? So yeah, he gave me a couple examples. I'm like, maybe that happened with him. And, he's a big kid. Man, I got to tell you, if I was a 5-year-old, 4-year-old, and I had that big of a body, I wouldn't know what I was doing. And so in the span of like 5 minutes, we worked that around. His bad day wasn't other kids' fault. It was his expectations that caused him to have the bad day. And so we worked through it. And I said, maybe next time you see the kid, be nice to him, give him a compliment. He might be more apt to notice you and not shove you down when he's so excited about something. He might pay more attention. That might prevent that in the future, maybe. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. He goes, yeah, tomorrow I'm gonna tell him how nice he is that day, or I'm gonna compliment his shirt or something. Yeah. And in that process, we changed what could have been awful, terrible day, angry, whose fault is this, to this is actually a good day and I can make someone else's day better, all through just expectations.
I went to school with peers. Their family were fighters. They were Golden Gloves guys and just barroom brawlers as parents, and their children were following straight in line with that. If I were nice Now, I was a big kid. I'm kind of a big guy myself, so I didn't get picked on too much. But I wasn't those guys. And I didn't hang out with those guys. And those guys were just kind of off limits to me. Not very many people were off limits to me. These guys that I'm thinking about were a grade or two ahead of me. So I didn't grow up with them, so to say. But I can't imagine going to them and complimenting them how nice they are or something like that. I don't know what the results would be. I think that that expectation of dealing with that person might need to be set differently than that. So do you think that might be individual set expectations of how we interact with certain people?
For sure. And I think that goes down to knowing the person and knowing your audience. I'm a big fan of that. I'll say that a lot, when I'm working at doing presentations and helping others work through presentations, is know your audience. Be able to read the room and kind of understand what applies and what doesn't. Right? If there's a big aggressive kid who's just that's all they're known for, is probably the nicest thing you can do for them is not give them a compliment day to day. It's probably just stay out of their way. And that's probably the best you can do. It's kind of knowing your relationship and knowing who your audience is, knowing who you're working with and dealing with.
Yeah.
Now,
did your son go to the school the next day and do that?
He did, and he told me how nice it was, and he made the kid laugh. Like, that's great. And what if it went the other way, though? What if when he started pushing him down more? We would pivot.
Yeah. Hey, you're a nice guy, and he gets hit in the face. Right. I actually lost a corner of my tooth because I was in drama class, 6th grade. There was a guy that was in 8th grade. We happened to have not drama class that day, but we went and played in physical education. And this guy was failed a grade or two, so he was probably 3 or 4 years older. And that's a big spread right there when you're 6th grade to maybe a 9th or a 10th grader supposed to be. And I said, "Hey, dude, what's your name?" Just trying to get to know him. He said, "Don't call me dude." So I went to a friend of mine and I said, "Hey, what's that dude's name?" And he said, "Hey, Ronnie, he called you dude again."
Oh, no.
And he was one of those families and I didn't have any idea who he was. I just knew that he seemed to be cool, seemed to be athletic, seemed to be, okay. And that turned out not so okay for me.
Yeah.
It helped me somewhat gear toward communicating.
Yeah.
Watching what I said intently. So losing a chip of my tooth, a corner of my tooth, helped.
That's a great way to that narrative that you tell yourself too with that is so important too. It could have the most negative thing you could do is everyone's mean. I'm just going to shut down. I'm not going to be nice to anyone now. I mean, at 6th grade, it's really easy for someone to kind of interpret a situation like that and think, well, people are just mean. I'm just not going to try anymore. Versus maybe I should be careful with how I speak or maybe the words I say because your intent was golden. What a golden intention you had. The impact, really, the result of that, it was a worst case scenario just about.
Yeah, almost catastrophic.
Catastrophic failure. The worst possible outcome from, hey man, hey dude, what's your name? That's the worst possible outcome, assault.
Yeah, his name was Assault.
His name was Assault. But those experiences, they make us who we are. And how we tell that to ourselves is so important. We all know people who can take something, a fraction of the catastrophe that was, and turn it into the worst thing that possibly happened.
Ball up in a room for the rest of their lives, just poor pitiful me.
Exactly. I know people, I have friends, adults, who, if that were to happen to them, that's exactly what would happen to them. Unfortunately so. And I also know people who would take that and laugh about it the next day. Because objectively looking at that, we're laughing about it. And we're not laughing because we're glad you got hurt or we're glad because someone was in so much pain or anguish they had to assault someone when they didn't get called the right name. But we're laughing because we understand that people can be like that sometimes. And we all have experiences that are frustrating.
Of ridiculousness?
Ridiculousness, absolutely.
I think all of us have practiced ridiculousness sometime in our lives.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we can laugh at it or we can hold on to it with the expectation that other people, everything else will go this way. Or we can let go of that and realize that was one thing that happened. And hopefully I want to share this story, and hopefully I can without causing too much of a ruckus or anything. So I'm
already offended.
Well, we're good then. It's only uphill from here then. So pre-cameras rolling, we talked a little bit about my relationship with my wife and how we had a rocky start. And for a time, we were apart. So we shared custody of our young son. He was 2 years old at the time, and she was living out of state. And so we would meet someplace in the middle to kind of exchange custody or a visitation time. And so it's 2 hours, it was 4 hour drive. This didn't last long at all. She moved back by the grace of God. Thank you so much. But 2 hours for me, 2 hours for her, meet halfway. So we at this gas station.
So it was a 4 hour drive round trip, plus whatever else you did.
Exactly. So
most of the days is done.
Pretty much. Like it was a rough experience that it made me a better father. It made her a better mother. It made us all stronger. So we met halfway at a gas station close to Kansas. And my son, he's 2021. So right out of COVID, he didn't have a whole lot of experience out in the world interacting with a bunch of other people. So kind of limited. And so I'm getting out of her car, putting him in mine. And this gentleman, black gentleman, was walking across from the parking lot to the gas station. And my son, he points and very loudly goes, "What is that?" And the dude heard him. And I was like, how is this going to go? And this guy is a saint. He looks at him and goes, "A black guy." Ha! Smiles, points at my son, waves at him, and goes about his business. And I thought, what an incredible human being. It was a very impactful situation for me. And I know for my son too, because how easy could it have been offended for someone to be offended with that and go, don't you teach your son who people are? Don't you expose him? What kind of person are you? What kind of parent are you? It wasn't that. This is a teaching moment. And so now forever, for my 2-year-old son, that's imprinted on him that he had a good experience with someone who didn't look like him. And that's important too.
How old was he?
He was 2. He was 2 years old.
What else do you expect out of a 2-year-old than blunt honesty?
Exactly. And I was I will never forget that moment because I was so thankful. I should have went on my way to thank that gentleman too. But, we're the sum of our experiences and the sum of what we tell ourselves about those experiences. And I guess the reason I said that was because how easy would it be to interpret that experience that gentleman had as a slight and be angry and aggressive and mean versus taking that moment and realizing he's a kid, he's 2. And those moments build our lives because our brains, we take shortcuts, especially when we're young. So if someone who looks a certain way is mean to us, our brain automatically programs ourselves to think, okay, shortcut, if I see that kind of person again, I know they're mean. Got it. It's a way for our brains to quickly analyze information. And so that was an opportunity for my son. It was an opportunity for my son to have a negative thing towards someone who doesn't look like him. But it wasn't that at all. It was such a good experience. And I tell that story to anyone I can who will listen because that's how important our individual experiences and interactions are. We can make that world of difference for someone else. To kind of tie it back to that potential road rage incident 14 years ago. That guy could have easily got upset, or you could have easily got upset. That's not how it happened. It turned into a wonderful experience where 2 human beings realized we're just human beings. And we all need to be giving each other grace and accepting that grace as well. And
we know that from time to time, at least historically, maybe not lately, but we've all acted like that guy driving away from Panda Express like a 2 or a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And maybe we can live typically, normally, most of the time from a higher perspective, knowing that we can be that black guy walking into the store and give grace to that person that's acting like a 2-year-old that may have said something out of line or did something out of line, because we know that we all from time to time have the potential to act like a 2-year-old, but we can be that mature man giving grace to our community and the individuals that are about us as we walk through life beside them, so that I know that I can be that. And I know that that's what they're being now, and it's okay because that's part of the human experience. And how do I love that person properly? By giving them grace, knowing that they're acting like a 2-year-old and having fun with that, maybe encouraging them to step beyond where they're living.
Beautifully put. That's beautifully put. Absolutely.
So we talked about expectations today, setting expectations properly, engaging our inner self so that we can engage others as well, knowing that we all act differently than what we expect of ourselves from time to time. How should we expect anybody else to act perfectly all the time?
Mm-hmm.
How do we love properly is the bottom line of this. And I propose that it is knowing that your voice matters, knowing that we have that in us to know that other people's voices matters, including our own, and that we're all one piece of the complete piece.
I love that. That needs to be, write that down, publish that, frame that. That's beautiful. Exactly. I love it.
All that to say this. Thanks for coming today, Kurt, and you are quite the inspiration.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you. You as well. Thank you so much.
We are here to help you discover or develop your passions, how you can use them, and why you exist. How can we help you help others better?